What's up, guys? Good night to everyone. I'm saying good night because I'm recording this video at night. Um, yeah, the lighting is better over here. So, I made a post on my WhatsApp stories. Um, and all right, let me provide some background. So, the 28th of December, I decided that I was gonna read the Bible in full. I was gonna read the Bible in a year. So I started that December 20th. So by December 20th of this year, 2025, I should have read the whole Bible. So every day I read like 3 to 4 chapters. And I'm using the Bible app to do this. So they organized the plan for me. They did start like at the front of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, but at the same time they threw in some chapters from Matthew. So I told my WhatsApp and my Instagram that I was going to read the Bible in a year. And I told him that, I already know some of the stories in the Bible because I went to church for so many years. So I told him I already know some of the stories in the Bible, so I'm not gonna post every day about everything that I was reading. But I did tell them that if I came across something that stood out to me or I didn't really know about, then I would let me go sit down, but I can't bother hold the phone, dog. So I told my WhatsApp and my Instagram that I would end up posting about it if it stood out to me or if I didn't know about it before. So I got to the story of Moses, Aaron, and Pharaoh. I got to that story and didn't really know about that story, to be honest. So I decided that, hey, I need to talk about this on my WhatsApp and my Instagram. I didn't actually end up posting it on Instagram because I couldn't bother to post all those videos I recorded on WhatsApp onto Instagram. So, and I posted a video of myself singing today on my Instagram. One of my friends replied and asked me, where are the Bible readings? So I was telling him that, I actually did post something yesterday. I just didn't post it on Instagram. I posted it on WhatsApp and couldn't bother to post it on Instagram. So now that I see that people are actually like listening and looking out for my commentary on the Bible verses that I'm reading, I decided that, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna record videos and post them on my YouTube channel and let those people watch them. No, I'm not going to read the actual scripture right now, the actual Bible verse right now, because it's a whole story. I do not necessarily want to bore you guys, so I'm not gonna sit and read the whole thing. I'm just gonna give you a synopsis, a summary of what I read and how the story went. So Pharaoh had the Israelites under slavery. And God wanted Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. So God decided that he was gonna send Moses to do this. And he ended up sending Aaron as well, because I think Moses was a little bit timid. So he didn't want to go. So he sent Aaron as well. And Moses told Aaron and Moses that, so you're going to try to convince Pharaoh to let them go, but he's not going to actually listen to you. So there's a series of things that I'm going to let you do, basically to prove to Pharaoh that, this is God speaking, and it's a serious matter. So the first thing that Aaron and Moses did was Aaron threw down his staff and it turned into a snake. So that was the first thing that Aaron and Moses performed in front of Pharaoh. Aaron and Moses were regular human beings just like me and you. But God gave them the power to transform his staff, which is like a stick, a cane that you walk with, throw it down and it turned into a snake. And Pharaoh saw this, and Pharaoh basically didn't believe them. So what Pharaoh did, Pharaoh called his magicians, because he's a king, so he called his magicians and told them, hey, turn this staff into a snake. And the magicians did it. So then Pharaoh was like, damn. So y'all are giving me a message, and you want me to believe the message, and what you did to demonstrate that this is actually coming from the God above is you turned your staff into a snake. My magicians just did it. So you guys aren't powerful then. You guys aren't special. You guys are ordinary. Because my magicians are able to do this. So this is nothing special then. I'm not releasing the Israelites. I'm not accepting God's message. That's what Pharaoh basically told them. I'm paraphrasing and I'm adding a little bit into it, but I'm just giving you the story from my perspective based on what I read. So Pharaoh didn't release the Israelites. He wasn't impressed by the staff being turned into a snake. So they took it a little bit further. They were at River Nile, and Moses and Aaron turned the streaming water into streams of blood. So it wasn't water anymore flowing in the river. It was blood. And Pharaoh said, let me call my magicians. Let my magicians try this and see what happened. So Pharaoh called his magicians. His magicians came, and his magicians turned the stream of water into blood. Moses and Aaron could do it. Pharaoh's magicians could do it. So Pharaoh's like, again, nothing special here. You guys are ordinary. I'm not following the message. I'm not releasing the Israelites. I'm not listening to God. That's what Pharaoh said, basically. Now, side note from the story. Reading this, it showed me that magic clearly is real. Did you guys believe in magic? Because I did not. I did not believe in magic. I didn't believe magic was real. I thought it was just humans causing optical illusions to make you think something is happening even when it is not. But we're reading in the Bible that Pharaoh had magicians, and those magicians turned a staff into a snake. Those magicians turned a river of water into a river of blood. Like, you think about those things, and those things sound like things that Jesus would do. Because remember, Jesus turned water into wine. Like, those actions are actions of a being that is not human, that is higher than human. So I think that's why God gave Moses and Aaron the power to do those things, because humans can't. But it was a different ball game when Pharaoh called out his magicians, and his magicians were able to do that. That showed you that, okay, what Moses and Aaron is doing isn't special then, because Pharaoh's magicians can do it. But I was shocked reading that magic was real and it was actually being performed back then. So what happened along history that magic wasn't real anymore and humans couldn't perform magic anymore? Because I doubt Pharaoh's magicians were anointed. They weren't anointed by God and God gave them those abilities. Clearly they just had those abilities because magic was real back then. So what's happening with magic right now? Like, it is, yeah. But anyways, now when they turned the river into blood, Pharaoh still wasn't impressed because his magicians could also do it. Now, it came a time when Moses and Aaron turned nuts. No, they turned dust into nuts. I don't know if you guys just saw my wife running past. But anyways, Moses and Aaron turned dust into nuts, basically bugs. And Pharaoh said, okay, let me call my magicians. Let me see if my magicians can actually do this. Turns out, his magicians weren't able to turn dust into nuts. And guess what? Pharaoh still wasn't convinced that the message was coming from God. The message was serious and he should take heed. Even though his magicians still couldn't do it. Are you guys following along? Put yourself into Pharaoh's position. You're deciding that you're the king. You're not believing in God. And the people God sent to you are doing things that are impressive. And you call your magicians and your magicians could do it as well. If you put yourself in Pharaoh's shoes, you're probably like, okay, if my magicians can do it, then these guys aren't special. I'm not listening. I could understand Pharaoh's thinking, George. I could understand Pharaoh's thinking and perspective at that point, since these two guys were doing things that his magicians could do as well. I could understand him not believing then. But the fact that your magicians couldn't do what the guys ended up doing, how is that not enough for you? That still wasn't enough for Pharaoh. Pharaoh still didn't follow the message, still didn't take heed. And even his magicians ended up saying to him that, hey, we cannot do this. This one is the real deal. Basically, they're saying to Pharaoh. Still didn't release the Israelites. God kept doing things after things. Egypt ended up seeing a storm. I'm summarizing. Egypt ended up seeing a storm that they've never seen before. They ended up getting plague after plague. The plague of frogs, the plague of boils. People had boils all over their bodies. Like so many atrocities came over the land of Egypt because God was trying to get a message across to Pharaoh to tell him to let the Israelites go. He wasn't listening. So God handed down punishments, not just to Pharaoh, but to the people of Egypt. Each time Pharaoh didn't listen to the message, God gave him punishment after punishment. Now, this story is teaching that, if you do not listen to God, there will be consequences. And each time you ignore his message, each time you turn a blind eye to his message, the punishment will increase. Do you realize the progression of the story with Pharaoh? Like, it literally started off so simple. He turned a staff into a snake. He turned the river into river of blood. Like, things started off so simple. The city was filled with locusts. The dust turned into nuts. Like, there were frogs, boils on people's bodies. Like, so many things happened. And all those things, people wouldn't have gotten boils on their body. There wouldn't be a dangerous storm in the land of Egypt. A storm that the Bible describes it as a storm that they've never seen before, that Egypt has never experienced before. Like, if Pharaoh had listened to God, God wouldn't have sent down a storm. God wouldn't have killed all of Pharaoh's livestock. God went as far as to kill goats, cows, cattle, sheep, all of Pharaoh's livestock. And God is trying to prove his point so much that God killed every Egyptian's livestock and didn't touch any of the Israelites' livestock. That's how far God went to prove his point. All of those things didn't have to happen if Pharaoh had just listened the 100th time to go, or the 5th time to go, or the first time. But because he kept not listening, God kept handing down punishments for him to take heed to the message. Guess what? Pharaoh finally took heed to the message. Pharaoh finally did what God asked him to do. And guess what? Finally allowed Pharaoh to see that, oh shit, I better listen to God. It was when God killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt. He killed every firstborn of the Egyptians, but not of the Israelites. That is when Pharaoh finally said, I'm gonna let the Israelites go. Imagine, you get a storm, you get plagues, your livestock got slaughtered. That didn't convince you. Your Egyptians ended up trying to do things that they couldn't do. And that didn't convince you. It was when God literally had to kill his own. God had to kill his creation to prove his point. Also in this story, we see that God is a lethal being. Like, he loves us, he's perfection, he's the ultimate example. But he's also capable of killing to get his message across. So fear God. Because pastors, Christians, we push this message of God is love, which he is. And Jesus is a fountain of mercy that you can always get forgiveness from. Like, we preach those messages. But you need to also remember that yes, God is love. Yes, God will forgive you of all your sins and wipe them all out. But remember that God is also lethal. God is a serious person, a serious being. God can kill and he will kill. God caused a whole flood over the earth and only saved Noah and his family and his livestock. God poured down fire and brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, those were humans that were being killed because God weren't pleased with their living. I'm not saying God is going to kill you. I'm just saying God is very much capable of killing. So yes, he's a nice guy, but he's also lethal. He's also a serious guy. If you're not listening to him, if you're not following his messages, if he's giving you a sign and you're not taking it, there might be punishments coming your way. And each time you ignore that message like Pharaoh, the punishment will just increase. The punishment will just magnify. I mean, are you able to think back to anything in your life where things are just getting harder and harder and harder? It might be a situation similar to Pharaoh's, where God is trying to give you a message, you're not listening to it, you're not taking heed to it. So he's trying to get you to see the message so hard that he's just putting things in your way, causing experiences and trials in your life for you to see and learn and get the message. But each time you're not getting the message, taking heed to the message, he just increases the punishment and make things worse. Until you finally take heed to the message and then things reset, things calm down. But yo, the story of Pharaoh, my key takeaways are, my trivial takeaways first. Magic is real. Like, they were literally performing magical acts in the Bible. Like, they're acting like Jesus. How Jesus walked around, healed people, turned water into wine. Like, yeah. But the most important message, though, from the story of Pharaoh is just listen to God. If he speaks, if he says go this way, just go this way. Because if you don't listen, punishments will come. And each time you don't listen to these messages, the punishment will increase. Just as how the punishment increased on Pharaoh. And it just shows you that God is a serious God. And if he has to kill to get his message across, he will kill. Just like how he killed all the firstborn in Egypt. So yeah. Depending on the next story I read, or the next chapter I read, the next verse I read, then I will post another YouTube video speaking about it. But the story of Pharaoh just stood out to me because I'm there reading and I'm like, yo, God is doing all these things to get this guy to listen. And he's not listening. What more does he need? Like, I'm sitting here trying to think about it. If after God killed all the firstborn in Egypt, and Pharaoh still didn't listen, what would have been the next move by God? To kill Pharaoh? To kill Pharaoh's someone close to Pharaoh? To just destroy the whole land and only save the Israelites? Like, what would have came after? Because things were clearly intensifying. The plagues were getting worse. Like, each time God did something and Pharaoh didn't listen, God did another thing and another thing and another thing until he finally killed all the firstborn in Egypt and Pharaoh finally listened. Like, yeah. If anyone watching this video wants to join me with reading the Bible in a year, it's not too late. You still can. You'll probably just finish later than me, but you still can start. Just link me and we can do it. And maybe it's me and you posting a video together talking about it. Obviously, it would have to be virtual. But yeah, reach out. Yeah. All right, in the late still.